Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Your Little Castle Show. We get to talk to experts in all limbs of the world. See what I did there? That doesn't even make much sense, does it? Let me explain what I'm talking about, everybody. If you have a house or a building or someplace that you treasure that you likely need to have kept safe, oh man, I got to think of a problem. I have a problem. When you guys come over, next time we're going to have you come over to my house instead of the studio. Big difference there, right? Mm-hmm. But I've got a tree, some little seed blew up against, this is how this works. Seed blew up against the wall, obviously, and then went down and planted itself. And now I've got a tree, like literally next to my cement basement wall. Yep. And it's going to start tearing stuff up. Trees push through concrete. Is that what happens? I mean, tell me what goes on with these wild
the roots will get to your foundation.
Okay.
And can crack your foundation. They'll find ways in where moisture can get. Yeah, tiniest little cracks.
So that's why we have tree experts. Today's experts are R&C tree experts, and they are experts at what they do to help make this little planet a better place for all of us who do have. Anybody got trees around their house? Anybody? Everybody, right?
Yep.
So it's hard to be away from trees. People plant them when they don't have them, just to have more of them to make the scenery look good, right?
Yep. Or they just get planted by themselves like yours.
They plant by themselves. That did happen. I'm like, I just pulled another little one that was growing. I cut it out and then cut it down, and all this, the nub is still that. What do you call it? The stump.
Uh-huh.
It's a little stump for this case. I caught it too far, but it was right next to the house again. All right, so R&C tree experts, Coty, C-O-T-I, Y, sorry, what I said, C-O-T-Y, I spelled it right, operator, owner, rc-tree.com. You guys are 618-623-2791. Mm-hmm. Other owner, are you guys co-owners, 50-50, what I've done to share your specifics, but you guys are both owners.
Yep.
And Robert Vaughn, owner, operator, and we just started getting into this whole tree discussion, and I started realizing, man, this impacts everybody in so many ways. We had another guy I was talking to. They're going to be on the show at some point. They're down southern, whatever. Plenty to go around. You got to get the guys who knows what they're talking about. And man, you just end up. Tell me the time when you have to grind a stump. That sounds like a weird thing. Grind a stump. Is that what you call it?
Yep.
Tell everybody what that is real quick, so I can help people understand the labor that goes in. What you should be know what you're doing.
Well, if you want to plant something or put something else in its place, you need to basically grind it down where you can either put dirt and straw and seed it, and you got to make sure you get down and get the root ball and stuff, because if you don't, then as it deteriorates, because the stump's wood, it will rot and sink. So you want to make sure you get down in there and get it all out if you're going to get your stumps ground out.
Sounds like it's important. All right, let's get into more about why we invited these guys to come here. First off, you're experts, and they say it in their name. And we're talking a little bit. We don't like to call ourselves experts, but you had to find a name that was different than another company somewhere over on the other side of the world, but or the side of the state, whatever. But if you're an expert, tell people. I think that it is your duty. Us guys, we've been told as kids, never come across as overconfident. One way to say that. There's other things people say, but don't become overconfident. But I think it's our duty to share with people what we're good at, so that somebody doesn't go off and hire somebody else who claims to be an expert, says it in probably the same fashion you might, but isn't.
Well, we got. I have personally 20 years in the tree business now, and if you haven't gotten good at it by then, you ought to pick up a thing or two in 20 years. But yeah, there's really not a job I wouldn't go after or tackle.
So yeah, we talked about that. We had a pretty good long pre-game prep. Brand new website that's about to go live. We got a few minor changes, updates to do there. We've helped you with the website because we'll get into that real quickly. But you want to have a website that's not just a website, but it's a marketing system. So let us know if you need a marketing system, because the systems are what make things happen so that you can work instead of be answering phones and emails. And you want a system that automates a lot of stuff. So the systems we advocate, that we are a Clicks Pro. Check them out, clicks.pro. Check it out. We'll help you out with that stuff too. But the website you've got looks great. The website you have looks good. It just doesn't have the marketing automation stuff built in. Mm-hmm. And if we start talking, you're like, I need that. I'm like, I know you do. Because what would you rather do? Help people with their trees or replying to emails and texts and all that stuff?
Trees.
Definitely rather do trees.
Cody's the youngest guy in the room over here. You're a little more technology background probably, because what was the first time you dealt with the interwebs? Was that on Google? Was a big thing when you were all your whole life probably.
Man, it's been a long time, but I ain't very good at it, but I try.
But the point is, back when I was a kid, like Google didn't exist. There was no such thing. The interwebs were just coming around, but now you got to do this internet stuff, or else people don't think you're serious if you don't have a website.
Yeah.
So you guys had a great looking website. Well, just integrates more of the stuff. It's on the website, on the wall behind us. RNC Tree Experts Facebook page. I'm going to show these off a little bit while I've got this up here, but that is the Facebook page right there. And talk about that real quick. That is called a lift at the top of your page.
Yep, that's a CMC spider lift, 83 HD, and we get 83 feet of height out of that.
83 feet in the air you can do with that.
Yep, that's a track machine, and it goes down to 36 inches, so we can get into backyards, small spaces to...
36 inches wide.
Mm-hmm.
So most people have a fence opening for their gates.
36 inches wide.
That's why you did that.
And it goes down to 35 and a half. So it's a little tight, but it's
1/2 inch left over.
Yeah, it's supposed to work.
Well, yeah, you got to have a little bit of leeway, or else you're scraping it, right? Mm-hmm. And you might bump it a little bit. But so that thing will go into anybody's backyard generally. Mm-hmm. 36 inch. A lot of people have those double gates.
Yeah. If not, we can also take down a piece of fence paneling and stuff and put it back up when we're done.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the way you do that, right? You take the panel down for temporary, as they say, and put it right back up. Looks probably better than it did.
Most paneling, I think, are 7 to 8 feet wide, so you got no problem getting access if you take down a whole paneling.
That's what we talk about experts, everybody. So let's continue on here. I want to stay on the path. What led you here? Why did you guys decide to get in? Why did you do it? Cody's been how long? Let's start with Cody real quick. Cody, how long have you been doing this now?
I've been going on for about 15 years now.
So you got 15 years in this.
Yep.
And you must have started when you were like 7. Maybe not, but 15 years experience, and your business partner here, Robert, 20 years.
Yep.
What led you here?
Started out working right out of high school for trimming trees for the power company, Ameren, in our area, and got to about 14 years in doing it there, and then decided always wanted to be my own business owner anyways. I know trees, so let's go at it.
I didn't realize it's a good business from the perspective that there's not a lot. You don't haul in a bunch of windows and doors and roofing and all those things. There's a lot of overhead costs there, but you're going to have some pretty hefty equipment.
Yes,
and that's what you got to have. That, and you take that stuff mobile on tractors like we have up there. As I talk about it, look at that again. Like that is how much does that thing weigh?
That thing is 8,700 pounds.
He knows all the information here, doesn't he? All right, thank you, Robert. Cody, what led you here, man? How did you decide how'd you meet Robert, and how'd this go?
Well, I mean, I've cut firewood since I was a kid with my grandpa and everything, and I had different jobs growing up, and I had a buddy tell me, hey, man, why don't you come to the power company and start trimming? I was like, all right, I'll give it a go, and then started learning how to climb and all that, and I enjoyed it, and then I ended up, I met Robert, and we've been friends since then.
Where did you guys meet at? Just run around
Power company.
The power company.
Both of you went to power company.
Yep.
I get it.
Power
So
company.
we love our big companies like that. Like myself, I worked for a little brewery based out of St. Louis called Anheuser-Busch. Most of the people have heard of them. Put the cowboy hat on there, but that's back in the old Augie Busch days. That's where this hat originally came from. But it's great to get because you get expert training. I bet you they made sure you guys knew exactly how to do your job, because there was big risk at stake when the power company comes through, and if there's a power line goes down.
Well, there's
and they can blame
all
the trees.
OSHA standards and.
Okay, tell me about that.
Well, first off, there's a different aspect is they have power lines there, so you got to be OSHA 10 certified. You got to be certified in CPR, and there's all kinds of OSHA standards for just even setting your trucks up on the roads, signs, cones, different things like that. But also wearing proper safety equipment, how to cut things, the proper way to bring stuff down safely, and basically just teaching the guys around just how to do the best you can to stay out of trouble for getting yourself in a situation where you can get hurt.
Nobody wants to get hurt on the job falling. I mean, you slip on the floor, that can cause some damage. But if you're falling from a tree,
It's going to be a little bit more crunch to that one.
a little more crunch. Cody, did you learn a lot? Obviously, doing that now. This is why you're so good at what you do now.
Oh, yeah, I've learned a lot over the years.
Tell me more about what you think you've learned.
I've learned how to climb. I've learned how to trim. Just a lot of safety. There's a lot of safety to it.
Roping and rigging's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Especially coming over. We even started doing more when we came over from the power company to residential. Power company, we would bring down dead trees, but most of the time it's just trimming 4 years of growth. But now we're taking down a lot more trimming, a lot more removals, stuff like that. So we've definitely got to broaden our experiences and stuff we've learned there.
Okay, so the next question I asked is, what fuels your passion about this? I mean, I would be afraid to be a tree guy. Is that probably most people? That's why you have a job, right? These people are like, I ain't climbing no tree, and I might fall down. There's a little picture of me as a kid. I'll never forget. I was up in a tree. I'm like, man, I was a crazy kid. You fall out of a tree, that's not a 4-foot fall. That's usually a 10 or 15-foot fall. That's when bad things happen. Like, I don't want to, but that's why you got to get experts.
We thought, they're going to pay us to swing from ropes with chainsaws. Sounds like a good way to go.
There's pictures on the website. Look, I'm going to scroll over here and take a look here. But literally, I mean, like you have to be an expert at this stuff, or big problems can happen. Talk about some of the safety risks, if you would, because I want to talk about that a little bit more so people understand. Many times we have people that their brother-in-law can do it, right?
Ladders.
Ladder.
Yep, they're going to get their ladder.
You've heard of this before, okay?
Yeah.
So tell me what happens. Why shouldn't people do this themselves?
I guess just one kind of small example, like people like to use ladders. There's certain ways you can do cuts. If you got pop cuts, you got notches, you can hinge things over, things like that. If you don't know what you're doing, you'll get what they call a spring pull. As it falls, the tip hits the ground, shoots it back, and that ladder you're standing on is now over there, and you're just floating in space till you come down and hit the ground. So it's, if you got to do it from a ladder, I wouldn't do it. That's something I would not be planning on.
Okay, Cody, you've dealt with this before. I mean, what would be your number one thing to say? If you're going to try to do it yourself, good luck, don't even bother, tip you might have?
I would probably just call somebody and not risk it for myself getting hurt anyway.
Well, you talked about rigs and ropes. What did you say? Ropes and rigging?
Roping and rigging.
Roping and rigging. What does that mean exactly so that people understand? You've got to do this as a professional with special... You're attaching yourself to trees, I guess, right?
If you're climbing, you would. Most of the time, now that we have this lift, we're getting in with that in a lot of places. But a lot of stuff hangs over people's houses. They have fences, pools, gardening areas, just stuff they don't want damaged. And you have to find proper places to run ropes through and then hook it and rig it, be able to bring it down safely without it coming down, crushing anything or slamming against you or anything else that's around.
Yeah, because that's where you start talking about your liabilities with regard to insurance. Obviously, you guys got all that stuff, or else you can't do business. In Illinois, they're very strict, aren't
Yes.
they?
Yes.
And if you don't have the right insurance, you have something go wrong, somebody told me they can sue. The owner of the house becomes the employer.
That is something I like to tell people. Make sure that you get proof of insurance from people that do give you bids. Because if you don't, and something does happen, even to them, they can come back on the homeowner.
And then this was explained to me, tell me if this is right, that the owner becomes the employer. Mm-hmm. So the employer is on the hook for anything that happens to their employee, even if it's a temporary employment for the job, right? And if they mess something up, and let's say the owner happens to have a very good business, they can go past what the homeowner's insurance covers because something really bad happened. They're going to go after the owner, the business assets.
I'm not sure how far they can go back on it. I do know that if a person doesn't have insurance, it will go back on the homeowner. If you have somebody come in doing work. Okay,
and I don't know if that was roofing we were talking about or whatever, but I think it's an Illinois thing. I've had, over in Illinois we've had 30 guests, I guess, come in our experts. But bottom line is, don't mess with this on your own. Because, and I don't know where I got that one from, but that was like, that's scary to me to imagine it could go that far. Illinois thing. Sorry, I got some lawyer buddies. It probably came from my lawyer buddies, so I don't expect you're not. But that's why you got the insurance, so you don't have to have the lawyer guys.
Yeah.
Because they will come in and say, you got the right coverage.
Carry good insurance.
Carry that
Definitely.
insurance. One less thing you have to deal with just to make sure, because you would rather do the job right than have to deal with the lawyers and the insurance all the time. You make sure you got a get a good insurance guy. I got a couple guys we recommend if you want to talk about that. All right, so one thing I like to endeavor on a little bit is, what are people saying about you? Now, on your website, that's what I was getting back to. On the website, I've got this, there it is. This is your current, or this is your up-and-coming website. And so this will be finished shortly. Look at those good-looking guys there right there. Well, two of those guys are, all right. The guy on the right's kind of a, what's up with that guy? But this is lots of good information out there. And I believe, let me go all the way down here, what our clients have to say. Yeah, there's a couple nice things that were said about you. Mm-hmm. Do you recall these particular
The
friends that you had talking?
Yes, the backyard jungle one. I remember that. I didn't even know that there was actually a bike path behind her house.
Okay.
And we came in and she had so much vines growing in on her yard that it was taking up quite a bit of her yard. And she has a little boy there, and they go back there and play. So we came in and cleared it all out and got quite a bit of her yard back for her. Which, I mean, if you that's your real estate, you want to be able to use it.
Well, I mean, that's kind of leads to what we were, another pregame. We kind of go off script. You guys might have seen the script I had up there. I might edit that out. But I like to make sure we cover the important topics. And now we've got this vertical TV that goes this way instead of horizontal. Anyway, when you get into this, I mean, people, I ask the question, can people just send you pictures? And you're like,
They could send me pictures. That would help me kind of see what I'm coming to look at and stuff. But
Okay.
I would say looking at it in person would be the best way. That way I can talk to the homeowner, give them different options. Maybe I see something else or something else we could do that would, might benefit them that I couldn't see in a picture. I might find an easier way to get something out of there. So it's always best to be in person and being able to talk to.
and that's what you talked about. You're saying, oh yeah, there's a lot of people, they send us pictures. And I'm trying to reiterate, because I'm just the uninformed consumer, right, everybody? So I try to play that role here. I do that pretty well. Because I want to know these dumb questions that a lot of people may or may not get answered. I'm trying to answer those right now. But when I send you pictures, they leave out the fact that there was a building right next to it that's cut out of the picture. And you thought you were going to be able to put the lift there, but now you can't. And so it's where very often it's much more, I guess, efficient to have instead of trying to give you a bid over the phone, which everybody, can't you just tell me over the phone? Well, yeah, we'll try, but we don't want you to be upset or surprised when we get there and we go, well, you didn't have this in the picture, you didn't tell us about that, and what are some of the problems people have that they don't realize are going to impact?
Getting access to some of the trees sometimes.
Okay.
Like they'll have steps that go down and stuff. Obviously, you can't take equipment down, any types of lifts and stuff downstairs to get to things, and they're like, well, instead of a bucket job now we have to physically climb it, which takes up a lot more time. And then access of also getting it back out. You can't get machinery to it. Everything has to be hand dragged, so more time. So that's why it's best to come look at it to see how you're going to get access to the tree, how we're going to be able to get all the stuff out of it if it is a full removal, and just different things for roping and rigging. Maybe it's a dead tree and I have to use another tree next to it to bring the wood to bring it down safely. So you want to know what's around, especially when stuff's going to be coming down.
Yeah, but that's why I get back into the reason this is so important is because if you damage your house, then who's paying for that? Is it going to be covered by insurance? Maybe.
If the homeowner does it themselves, yeah, it's their deductible.
Okay.
And then sometimes, a lot of the jobs sometimes we do are less than what some people's deductibles are. So they could have had us come out and take care of it and not have the damage or the deductible taken.
I'll give a quick lesson about deductibles, everybody. They changed our deductible to a percentage. Not a flat 500,000, 2,000, 3,000 percentage. I had a tub that filled with water. It was a hot tub. Had a claim. All of a sudden they're like, yeah, it's going to be covered, but your deductible is a percentage of the whatever, and it'd be like $3,000. Well, the hot tub was only worth $5,000 at that point or whatever they devalued that because it was a little bit older. And man, I'm on the hook for that. People need to be aware of these things. But who would ever want to pay a $500 or $1,000 or a $2,000 deductible out of pocket because they want to, again, doing it, the do-it-yourselfers. We love you guys. Do it yourself, except Why would you do that? Because you guys can do work. What's an average job go for on the low end, all the way up to jobs you've done all the way on the high end?
You can get to quite a bit of money if you have to bring in crane services and stuff like that. I mean, that's going to be very expensive, but on the low end and stuff, I mean, they can be, $450 just to come in and take out a few limbs and stuff that are getting close to your house. But it depends on what or how big and where it's at.
And you don't really refuse any job, really. You're just saying, hey, just understand when you're bringing equipment. So if somebody can get their own little tree trimmer little thing and their shrubs, don't bother you guys with that, right? But for anything, or do you do that too? I mean,
we can,
do it, yeah.
Okay. I don't want to take any business away from you, but yeah, I mean, but all the way down to but you're saying generally ballpark 450 and up. That's really where you start, and that's good fare because I'm like, yeah, $500. I'm good at producing a TV show. I like to pretend I'm good at this, but why would I want to go off and try to save $500 and potentially drop a tree on my roof? That's not a smart thing to do.
Yep.
No. Okay. Economics here, everybody. Try to use your just basic numbers for your return on your investment. If you make more money doing what you do or trying to things that you're not good at and you make more problems for yourself. You do have a bunch of reviews out there. I'll put them up on the wall. And keep up the good work. 5 stars across the board on this. And a bunch of people talking nicely about you. So everybody can take a quick peek at that. But get a hold of these guys. And obviously, some people go, give me reviews, give them reviews. If you want to get a bunch of reviews, do that. You need them. You got a bunch of people already talking very nicely about you. But to get all 5 stars is pretty good. And our little software thing that we've advocated that these guys use includes a reviews thing. Because that's just another thing. Right? I don't have a bunch of reviews either, everybody. Cardinal Cowboy's got a bunch out there. Go check them out. But get some good people to talk about you. Make them legit. That's one of the things that you see with people. They get these reviews, you can tell that was solicited. I mean, hopefully it's not just complete lie, but everything here I can tell is very legit. So check these out, what you got there, and you're going to have plenty more of those as you continue to work with what you're doing. How long has this particular business been in business now?
3 years as a me and him partnership. Partnership.
3 years together with both you guys. Doing this over. So yeah, and 20 years and 15 years experience. So 35 years combined experience. You guys are going to be retired when you're 50. He's going to be retired when he's 50 because he started off when he's young. Because that's why I say, man, I wish I had not got caught up. I love the job I had, corporate America. Did really well. Made a lot of money when I was young, but could have been starting a business. Business owners are where it's at. If you do a good job, you help people.
I enjoy it more.
Yeah,
it's definitely better than working for somebody else.
You know your boss pretty well. Did you like your boss?
Yeah, some days.
Some days you wake up and you're like, man, my boss has to be kind of a bonehead about whatever. But that's how you end up with just when you are the boss, then you've got to make sure everything is done. That's true. And bottom line is you answer to one person, maybe Coty. They're both, since you're both owners, you got to check things to make sure. But you got to make sure that things get done right, or else it's your job at stake.
Yep, it's our name on it.
That's why we like to emphasize, and that's, I got to talk about this periodically. But the reason we bring on small business owners is because they just don't get enough limelight. They don't spend $30,000 a month on marketing usually. But I'm like, let's do a nice looking interview for these guys that we can put out there. And I'll put you on my little TV show on ABC, and people will then hopefully pay a little attention to you. Because ever heard of ABC? It's a pretty well-known network here in America, and you get to help spread the word for you guys. So thanks for taking the time to come in and talk about this. As we continue on here, though, we touched on that with the cost analysis. If somebody's going to, and what are some of the things that impact the cost, so people understand why you're paying to have somebody do this. But it's number one, you got insurance, equipment, labor. What else goes into this impacts why people pay for this?
Basically, we look at it as how much time we're going to be spending on the job site. So I think I said something to you earlier. The same tree can cost $450 and it can cost $2,000, depending on where it's at, and how much time it's going to take to get down, get it out of there, haul it all out, or whatever it is that needs to be done to it. But it can be a quick job you just back up your truck to, drop it on the ground, and it's gone and done with, or it can be something that has to be climbed and it takes half a day of roping and rigging to bring it down without crushing or hitting anything around it.
Yeah, I guess a lot of people, unless they have some insight with regard to, structures and we talked about one tree went to the job. We got a couple pictures there in show number 2. We're going to show a lot more of these pictures we got for the work. So check out. I invited them to stick around for 2 shows, right? Not 5, not 4, not 3, but definitely 2 half hours because you got to get this expertise stuff understood. And if somebody's going to spend, I can't imagine. I know some guys who they will spend $10,000-$15,000 getting their trees all trimmed, and that's not something they do every week. How often is the average tree when you trim back trees for somebody because they're getting ready to fall over on our roof?
We always tell them that should be at least 8 years till the next time you got to have us come back. About 8 years worth of growth.
Okay.
You will probably want to get hit again.
So bring that into your cost analysis, everybody. 8 years. If it cost $8,000, then you paid $83 a month, which is $1,000 a year. I know my numbers a little bit, which means that is it worth it? $83 a month to make sure your house doesn't get destroyed? Because people literally, and hopefully you don't have that kind of situation. I deliberately did not plant a bunch of trees around my house. Not too far behind me, there's a bunch of them. And we've had debris come flying over from there. There was a tornado came through a number of years ago. I had somebody's chimney in my front yard, the stack on top, the metal thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, that was interesting. Somebody picked it up. I don't know what happened to it. But trees, obviously, if you've got them next to your house, make sure these things are getting...
Keep them maintained.
And they start off with little bitty... They planted them when they built the house.
Yep.
I'll never forget when I was a kid. We put these little trees that were this big, right next to each side of the deck in the backyard of mine. Now they're this big.
If you maintain them at a medium or smaller size, it's cheaper than having to come in. It's already done so much growth where it turns into a real big job then also. So kind of getting ahead on it too would be beneficial, not only for the tree because you're not taking as big as cuts off of it, which is more damage you do to a tree than just actually getting on it when it's younger, smaller cuts, not as much damage done to it, and that way it grows kind of away from your house and you don't get it to where it becomes a problem.
And I threw out that $8,000 number. I'm not trying to freak everybody out. Very few people spend $8,000, I guess,
Yes,
for a homeowner. You're generally a ballpark $2,000 to $3,000. What do the average person spend?
I'd say the average person is probably about $1,200, depending on how much they have done at their house.
Okay, so that's a no-brainer then, because now you're talking.
Yeah.
For 8 years, I got to deal with this and just get it knocked out, and $1,200 to $1,500 to get a nice little tree trimming job done. Make sure you don't have, because I know these insurance problems because it become a lot of things too, and then you got a lot of stuff to talk about and a lot of problems. Who needs to deal with that? Just because you didn't bother to call some guys, they know what they're doing. rc-tree.com, 618-623-2791. We'll be back for more here. We're going to do another half hour with you guys. Is that cool?
Sounds good.
All right, guys.
Good.
Cody, we're getting some more from you too, man. I appreciate you, brother. All right, giddy up.